You believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon Podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty best ball, that's my favorite way. 40 chess trade show, let's make a trade today or check a AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building, he gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasy's a big ocean, they made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devy, that's the team. Dynasty Football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team. Let's start the show.
What is good, everybody? Welcome back into a Tuesday night AMA. Finally doing it on Tuesday again. We bounce around all over the place, but Tuesday night we are here in the building as well as you. So thank you for tapping in. Hope everybody's doing well. I just got my ass off of work, but I had to hurry home. Got to sit down, pour a drink, talk to the people, and hang out with my bestie. What's up, Adam? How you doing, buddy? So excited that man left himself on mute. He didn't give a shit.
I'm out here muted. Mike and I were recording late last night, having a blast. We did 2 trade shows, getting you guys all the content you want. Right back in the saddle, Mike. I'm ready to go. For AMA, always love kicking it with the people, the shitheads. We already got a super chat, Mike, so I don't know if you want to just go ahead and knock this out.
Yeah, kick it off,
waiting.
Man.
Yeah, we got to go ahead
super
and do
chat
that,
already.
right?
We got to go. You got to blow that up, too.
I got to blow this way up.
We starting rusty as hell, but we're starting off with the super chat, so it all makes it okay.
The mute, the small text, but we'll get it figured out. It just might take a moment. When you realize you messed up a startup and you start hoarding to trade later, how long do you wait to start firing out offers before looking desperate? I got a couple questions about this in general. I think it's a good topic. So, Mike, let's just do this. The first thing I wanted to say, wow, we have another super chat, by the way, I need to get to after this one.
All right. Well, we're starting off fast.
Starting off real fast. When you realize you messed up, if you start hoarding, if we're talking quarterback hoarding, after you realize you messed up, like the quarterback hoarding you may be doing might be too far down the board is one thing I am worried about potentially with this, the way it's framed. Now, in general, though, regardless of whether you messed up or not, when do you start firing out offers? I think that part, the firing out offers, is dependent because, for example, let's say you're talking some of these more down the board quarterbacks. Right. People ain't gonna come pay even what market is for some of those guys today. Like they might not pay up for, let's say, Mike. Let's use some names in that range. Even like Russell Wilson, they may not be really eager to pay up right now for a Russell Wilson type until they realize they need a quarterback more desperately. Right.
Startups are difficult, right, with the QB hoard. Like it can be done, and you see it sometimes where you just takes that one guy to go, oh shit. Like, I need a quarterback. Let me go ahead and make this payment. You can bend them over. But generally, like, one of the biggest problems with startups in general, not even quarterback hoards, but just trading in general, is there's a reason that they pushed the button on the player they did when they did. You know what I mean? Like, teams, especially in the startup and right out of the startup, they think their team is fantastic. I find that time is probably your best medicine when it really starts to sink in. Right. Everybody thinks they got a great team and they did what they wanted out of startup, but give it a month. And when they look at it and that startup euphoria goes away, they go, oh, shit. Oh, shit. Damn, like I do need a quarterback, or damn, I do need a running back or a wide receiver, or I'm hurting here. Things start to become more clear. So I don't know. Generally, Adam, with a quarterback hoard, I don't fire off offers when I do it. I just kind of sit there and hold them, and the first person to blink essentially loses. Like the first person to slide in them DMs, I'm like, oh, fish on. Let's go, right? We just got to set the hook and start reeling them in nice and slow, right? You don't want to jerk it. You don't want to jerk it too hard. Don't want to pull the hook right out of their mouths.
You never want to jerk it too hard.
That's the hot take for tonight. Don't jerk it too hard. But Adam, I'm kind of with you. Like it really depends on the variance of what messed up means. Like how'd you start? When did you start hoarding? If you made your first 3 picks and they ended up being quarterbacks, or maybe you skipped one in there, you could still pull it off. But if you started hoarding at, round 7 and you have 6 shitty quarterbacks nobody really cares about, yeah, you may get an offer or two, or you may get something that's a little bit more valuable than where you took that person in ADP, but it's just not as appealing. It's not as sexy, right? Like trading Bryce Young or CJ Stroud in a quarterback hoard, much more appealing than trading away Jared Goff. Right?
There you go.
People are more willing to pay for those guys than they are the shittier quarterbacks.
Yeah, and there's 2 layers components to that for me. One, if you think about when you're in a startup, right? Now, go back to a league that you have, if you've been playing long enough, that's at least a year removed and more like 2 years removed. And you start telling me outside of the first round clear-cut picks where guys were taken in the startup. You're not going to remember. The more it gets away from the startup, you're not going to remember where they go. So when you go to ask in a quarterback hoard to trade up into the draft, right, by a round, that's so much more on the manager's mind right now in the startup. They're just seeing that pick number in the board the way it's falling. The second thing is what you were talking about, Mike, how, right now when you look at a lineup, most people are just going to say, oh, my team's good. I don't need to make this type of a move. And a lot of times in June when people are drafting, they're going to start plugging players into their so-called lineup that are probably young and not necessarily difference makers in points per game. And sometimes it takes a while before the season's actually happening for them to realize, oh, shit, I need to try to make some things up here. That's when the quarterback hoard a lot of times will become more appealing. But I'll say this, the point you made too, Mike, about not firing out offers initially. Like if I start getting offers into me and I make the first deal on a quarterback hoard, then you can start firing out offers because the market's been set. But what you don't want to do in the looking desperate part of this is just start firing out offers to all the managers in your leagues on this quarterback hoard, because now you're looking like you're at their disposable when really it's the other way around.
Right. You always seem more desperate if you're the one sending out the offers, right? Like I'm
when no one's bought them.
Yeah, I want you to come in. No, I'm good, man. I'll pass.
Yep. Oh, I pulled up the super chat from Jay, so we really appreciate it. Jay, man, unable to tune in tonight due to a new work schedule. Just doing my due diligence. Appreciate you guys. $50 super chat while he can't even make it. Jay's one of our guys, El Gancito. He's been Savage team member basically as long as the tier's been around. Love you, man. Looking forward to kicking it with you at the expo, and appreciate the due diligence and showing the love, dog.
Appreciate you, Jay. Really do. Appreciate it.
And you know what? We got another Savage guy in here showing some love. Mr. Wonderful. Okay. Part 1. What's your all-time GOAT favorite league settings to play in, i.e. starters, rosters, special scoring, etc.? Okay. I love the question 1. Part 2. Thoughts on 14-team leagues. Do y'all enjoy them in BB? You boys are GOATs. Wow.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Wonderful. Appreciate the super chat. Adam, I'll start. All-time favorite GOAT favorite league settings. So starters, somewhere between 12 and 13 usually feels real good for me. 14, it's a little bit too deep. 11 feels a little bit shallow. 12 to 13, I'm very comfortable with. Rosters, 35 or above, man, total, period. Like, that's what I like. I like those bottom, like 5, 6, whatever the bottom's going to be, especially in best ball leagues if I'm doing them, to be those guys where I can roster the lawn darts, the Hunter Longs, if I still believe in Hunter Long, and it doesn't hurt my roster construction. You start getting under 30, those guys got to go. Like, they got to go. They got to hit the waivers. So 35 always feels real good. Special scoring, points per first downs, like a half point per first down, I really enjoy. Stick movers, it really helps them. Everything else I'm not too keen on, but I do like bonuses for big plays, right? Like if you score a 50-yard touchdown, whether it's throwing the ball, running the ball, or catching the ball, I feel like you should be rewarded a little bit more than the guy who just punched it in from the 1-yard line. Like I feel like you should really feel it. So if you catch a 50-yard touchdown, I want the point for the catch. I want the point for the 50 yards. I want the touchdown points. And then I want, a couple point bonus for the fact that you took the top off the defense, or if you're Christian Watson in that Monday night game with Jordan Love, you you took that slant and then you just went to the house. Like, you should be rewarded for that because I think it's pretty awesome. So personally, that's what I like. Just everything else, I'll kind of mix it up. Tight end premium will be half point, might be a full point, might be we don't even have a tight end and you just score 3 points for every catch you get. Quarterback scoring, I flip-flop between 4 and 6 for passing touchdowns. Sometimes I like to make it a little bit more negative or, make people think. I want to keep them on their toes, but for me, that's my favorite. And the 14-team league, I fucking hate them. I hate them. Even in best ball, I fucking hate them. They put so much scarcity on the quarterback position. It's almost unfair. Does bring in a little bit more strategy, which is kind of nice, but it's just so hard in 14-team leagues, especially if you don't have the quarterbacks in a 14-team Superflex best ball league. You ain't doing shit. And you need multiple.
See that last part you said right there is the reality of 14-team leagues, because the guys that have quarterbacks, the teams that have the quarterbacks or have a surplus, love them some 14-team leagues. The teams that either whiff on the Superflex quarterback or weren't in a position to really get them because of the board. Like, for example, we talk about in a startup, Mike, if it's a snake startup where you're at the 112, like, you're at a disadvantage, but maybe you can double tap. Like, if you're at 114, in a 14-team league, because the quarterbacks are going to go ahead of the skill players, like, you basically by the 114 are out of the top 12 a lot of times in some of these drafts, right? So, like, what do you do? That makes it even worse. So I think that's part of the problem with 14-team leagues is it's really hard to have well-rounded league where everybody can get a decent team. And then the reality is if you're set up without the quarterbacks, you have to try to tank just to get them. I don't mind them, but I'll say I much prefer a 12-team league to a 14-team league.
If I'm going to do a 14-team league, I think auction startup is mandatory.
It basically has to be. It has to be.
Because you hit it on the head. I mean, we've seen 14-team startup drafts on Superflex with, just average quarterback scoring, what we normally think of. And whoever's picking at 14, like you mentioned, it's, you might see 12, 13 quarterbacks go in round one, and you're sitting there at 14 going, all right, I'm going to start Daniel Jones and Russell Wilson as my first 2 picks, and you're just chasing everybody else. You don't feel good about it. You go, well, I got 2 of them, but the guy who's got Mahomes at 1 goes, I don't really give a shit who my second quarterback is. Like, I have an advantage over all you chumps. I'll take skill player on the way back. You left me some really awesome ones. And then, in the 3rd round, I'll take Jared Goff. And I'm like, boom, I already got the leg up on you at quarterback. I got the leg up on you on the first skill player. It's stupid.
And another point to that, when it's not a auction, if it's auction too, but if you're in a startup, especially in a 14 team, and you're newer to that format, like, you really won't understand until you go through it how crazy early the QBs go. So, for example, like, if you're in that back half, right? So you're like, man, it just feels like I'm forcing QB here and I'm chasing to take one here. Like, so let's say you get 2 skill players you feel really good about. You may not realize, though, like, you're not going to be able to wait till the 4th to get a Goff or a Cousins. Like, now you watch those guys go in the 3rd, and now you're sitting there like, holy shit, what have I done? I was kind of F from the beginning, right? And I don't mind mixing in some 14 teams, but I think the majority of my leagues are 12 and will stay that way. I'll probably still do some 14s coming up. Like, it's a fun wrinkle, but it's just not what I primarily want to play. So to answer the first question, starters, I think that for me it's between 12 and 14 is a perfect one for me, really. 11 and lower, even in best ball. Obviously, our preferred format, you already know, is best ball. 11 and lower can, even in best ball, feel more shallow, where you want to go to the studs more. I love 12 to 14 because it puts so much more emphasis on all players in the leagues, right? Like, you're going to roster people that mean something, and to Mike's point, you want to have, with the rosters, at least 30 for me. A lot of times I like 35 or high 30s even. Like, let's make this waiver wire barren. Like, let's let you have so many different chances as a contender to just fill up gross, crusty people that can make your lineup. So it makes it more fun. Special scoring, I don't have a preferred on this. As someone that plays in a portfolio, I like the diversity in all my leagues with the special scoring with, either heavy tight end premiums, not as high tight end premiums, the long touchdowns, point per carry. I like having variance throughout that. So for, like, my favorite special scoring, I don't necessarily have an answer to that. I know that might not be what you want to hear, but it's just the truth. I like having a multitude of different special scoring.
I like it, man.
All right,
get into the thumbnail quick before we pop into everything else.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
a lot of people in here, man.
We got housekeeping, Mike.
K-Box in here, Gridiron Fantasy Show. The guys
for real?
Right? Yep.
Yeah,
they're in here. It's awesome.
Let's go. I'm trying to find the comment. Nice, man. Let's go. Mike, let's talk about this though because the thumbnail. I knew.
Oh no.
Oh no. Here's 7 goat rings.
Stop.
You know what? I'm going to put this up here for the energy. Yeah, the 7 goat rings that I know is now at least down to 5, and we can debate the other one.
After we recorded a trade show last night, it's 5 goat rings.
You guys haven't even seen the new trade show.
Spoiler alert, 5 goat rings.
Spoiler alert, too. Not in the chat yet, surprisingly, but a first-time appearance for someone on the trade show with the 7 goat rings trade. Mike, let's get into the thumbnail, though. So, we weren't sure when we were going to do the AMA this week because we're going to do 4D with Ray. We found out we're going to do it tomorrow. We're like, all right, let's lock AMA in today. I'm like, all right, I got a thumbnail for Mike already set. I just don't know when we're going to drop it. I'm like, here you go, man. You title it. So I'm going to let you kind of take away what your thoughts are on the thumbnail, the player. Give us the real on Gibbs, man.
I love Jamir Gibbs. We know he was a special talent. He was a special talent when he was at Georgia Tech, right? And then he transfers to Alabama. He gets even more hoopla. So much so that he goes ridiculously high in the NFL draft. Now, it's not a one-for-one comparison because they're slightly different players. But they basically replaced DeAndre Swift with another guy like DeAndre Swift. Okay. The things I loved about DeAndre Swift, I see a lot of in Jamir Gibbs. The elite speed. And for people who are like, well, Swift only ran a 4.48, go back and look at some of those highlights in the NFL and look at how many of the long plays that he broke off when he was healthy, which has always been a problem. That's the second part is this is basically like I can just look at it and go, man, I love Swift in that offense, but I was always concerned because his usage was all over the map. Some days he's getting the work. Other days it's like, is there something wrong with him? Does he got a hamstring? Does he got a shoulder? What the hell's going on with this guy? And injuries have always been a big problem.
Sorry, I just shot on him.
No, you're good. You're good. So you put Gibbs in there, and right, we don't have any injury concerns yet. Knock on wood that we don't, but it's the running back position. But as of right now, no injury concerns with Jahmyr Gibbs. Nothing lingering from college, anything like that. Didn't have any concerns at the combine. So you put that guy in that offense, which is actually very good with incredible run blocking, and I can just do the whole DeAndre Swift backflip all over again and be like, yep, I'm back in. I'm back in. This is, to me, DeAndre Swift with first-round draft capital in the NFL. Like the Lions were like, yeah, we're good. We're going to take a running back, even though nobody else does it because he fits us so well. And for those of you who are like, man, Swift wasn't even good, think about last year was a horrible year for him. 15th in points per game. WoRP-wise, actually pretty good on a WoRP per game, beating out some really good running backs who are on par with some other running backs. So even think about 2021, Adam, kind of disappointing, right? Started out really great, had that, what was it, Thanksgiving game?
Before that, he had the game versus Pittsburgh where they gave him 30 carries, and it was a blizzard, and they just didn't want to throw. Kind of popped the shoulder injury on the report, and then in the Thanksgiving game, he landed on it, and that really killed the whole 2021 season. Muted. And now you muted.
Sorry, man. Just think about his stats. Okay. Think about his stats from that year, too. I mean, just as a whole, right? If I told you, well, Gibbs is only getting 151 carries. Okay? That doesn't seem like much, and people will knock him for that. But Swift turned in 617 yards on the ground. He had 62 catches, 452 yards, 7 total touchdowns. And he finished as RB8 in points per game, 16 points per game, which if Jamir Gibbs were to do that or come close to that in his rookie year, I mean, we can say all we want, running back value is dead, but that's not a high bar to hit to actually be on par, scoring 16 points per game in his rookie year. And if he were to do that, people will lose their minds. Like his value is going to the moon. We're going to talk about he's already, RB5 on Keep Trade Cut, which – feels a little rich. I mean, you can make the case, especially for some of the other vets, the McCaffreys, the Saquon Barkleys. I love Nick Chubb for this year. Like you can make the case for some of those guys in just points per game. But imagine if a rookie comes close and finishes, top 6, top 7 running backs on the year. We're going to get excited for him. So there's still room to grow, even though it does feel a little rich at number 5 already. But you could see it, outside of, probably Bijan Robinson. Like if we're talking about it this time next year, it's like Gibbs 1 or Bijan 1, Gibbs 2. Just plain and simple.
Yeah. I think to the point you're making, right? If you go back and it's hard to do. It's hard to kind of go back in the time machine and not live in this world where we know what the future outcome was, right? But if you go back and you can try to detach yourself from what we know today, and you think about the 2021 year, Campbell was newer to the team, obviously there, and Mike, I just ran the WoRP for what it's worth, weeks 1 through 11, which was before the injury, to your point, for DeAndre Swift. He had the shoulder injury, landed on it.
Right.
Mike, here's the crazy part. When you think about it, most people don't even think very highly of DeAndre Swift, really through that point. But he's a top 25 guy, and I just pulled up a random league, which is half PPR, which basically, honestly, isn't even the best for his skill set. But I'm looking, he's a top 25 guy. He's over 1 in WoRP. And the big thing to me is this. After that, right, the injury he had late in the year and then constantly not being available for Dan Campbell was the big thing. It was never that he didn't want to use Swift. He loved Swift in the early part of their tenure together. But the reality was Campbell's very old school, and him not being available in practice and not being able to feel like he was reliable clearly caused this rift in his usage all of last year. And you think about what this trade, what the trading of him plus this pick means when you look at the skill sets of Gibb, right? And when you take a running back in the top 12 and you're elated, like they were going crazy when they drafted him. Like they just won the Super Bowl. They hadn't made the playoffs in how long? They just act like they won the Super Bowl. I think that it's a clean slate. It's now a hand-picked guy that Campbell has that if he gets the workload of not even a feature back, but a guy that can get a large majority of the receiving work and a lot of the valuable touches, David Montgomery doesn't even bother me. Like, I honestly think that's a good thing for a guy like Gibbs. Like, let him get some of these carries in between the 20s, and let's let Gibbs get a lot more of the valuable touches and keep him more fresh. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I know that, for rookies, it may take him a little longer to start in the first few weeks, but if you're patient with Gibbs, I do think the ceiling for him is, I'm not going to say unmatched, but it's very near the elite in ceiling.
Right. Another one that I think of is basically like Tony Pollard, who would get first-round draft capital and not have Ezekiel Elliott sitting there on the team, who the Cowboys loved and gave far too much work for far too long. Like we finally saw it last year with Tony Pollard breaking out in a big way. RB8 on the year. Again, another guy pushing 16 fantasy points. But you look at even Pollard, his career high in receptions, 39. Very different than when we're talking about DeAndre Swift just 2 years ago with 62. So Gibbs could get a ton of work because he is a fantastic receiver. I don't put too much stock in like OTA reports, but it's also a guy who they're lining up all over the formation. He's going to play in the slot some. He's going to split out wide. He's just a weapon. So you get that at the running back position. I'm pretty happy. And I think it'll fill some of the void. They moved on from TJ Hawkinson. I don't think Sam Laporta's taken all of what TJ Hawkinson used to do in his rookie year. I mean, he's going to take some, but it's just going to be, a lot of that's also going to be relied on Jahmyr Gibbs. I've seen the things about, we even got in the chat about, they paid Monty all that money in the offseason. Yeah, well, they did that before, and then they went to the NFL draft after doing it and went, yeah, we're still going to take Jamir Gibbs.
Right. That's the biggest part about the Monty thing, because I see I'm late, but I heard he will be a good compliment for Monty, right?
Yeah,
so if you think of, to me, honestly, the Montgomery thing actually signals more, Mike, like they had kind of decided Swift's not in our plans.
Right.
Swift's no longer in our plans. We're moving on from him. We don't want that. We weren't going to re-sign Williams because, honestly, that's the smart thing to do. He had an awesome year. He's getting older. So you replace him in not even that much more than what he got, really, to get younger in the same idea and keep the same idea. But also now it's almost showing that they really wanted to make this room. And it's crazy in the NFL that doesn't value the running back position, right? You sign a guy like Montgomery to decent money in the offseason, and then after that, you're like, yeah, we want a running back that's not even the first running back off the board in the top 12. That shows you how high they were on Gibbs, and they were really wanting to retool this whole running back room. I think with a guy like Goff, too, this is another little point I'll make. He's actually one of the best as far as getting the ball checked down. When things are not going right or it's already designed, he will get the ball to Gibbs, and then he can make things happen after the ball's in his hands. And we all know that you'd rather have a catch than you would a carry, and I think Gibbs offers that, too.
I'm seeing also 5 goat rings in there about Monty being a 3-down guy and 240 carries. Listen, man, I just said Tony Pollard, and he had an RB8 season last year, a breakout season. He didn't break 200 carries. He didn't. And he didn't have that much in the receiving work, right? He's 193 rush attempts last year. It's modern NFL for the running back position. You don't need to be a 3-down guy anymore. They're very, very rare. We only have a handful of them. Even you can look at the splits with Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell when Elijah Mitchell was healthy towards the end of the season.
Sure.
The splits are absurd, but it doesn't really affect a guy like Christian McCaffrey, right? Because you're a weapon in the receiving game. In today's NFL, that's the guy I want. I don't want the 2-down plotter. I don't want the guy who's just getting goal line work. I don't need the A.J. Dillons on my team. I want the guy who's dynamic, who they're going to get the football. I want the Aaron Jones type. Maybe he doesn't ever get the carries, but having the guy who gets all the carries anymore is kind of an afterthought. Like, they're very, very rare. Outside of what? Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, we project to do that. Nick Chubb. That guy.
That's the thing. Nick Chubb isn't even a 3-down guy. Does he have the capability? Yes. They have never deployed him in a 3-down skill set role.
Right.
They don't.
What is okay? So guys like Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry, both guys that aren't 3-down guys, right? Mm-hmm. But what are they doing? They're getting all the carries. They're getting all the goal line work.
Right.
And they're extremely explosive with their runs, right?
No,
Derrick Henry's got
there,
a highlight reel. So does Nick Chubb of just you take a power handoff up the middle and all of a sudden he's gone 60, 70 yards, right? It's easy for them. Those guys are the rare ones. I don't think anybody's looking at David Montgomery going, yeah, we give him a handoff up the middle. He's a threat to take it 60, 70 yards. No, he's a threat to go 7, 8 yards and probably get tackled and fall down. That's what he does.
There's very few. Breece Hall didn't have that type of a workload. Not saying he's not capable, but how they deploy them, right? Even Chubb, as great as they are, Henry, they're not out there like Saquon is for 85, 90% of snaps. Here, you're just going to do it all. That's why those type of workloads are so valuable. But if you're not going to have that, and you're going to have this 60, 70% type workload, Gibbs honestly can keep up with a lot of people in my mind at 55% because of the type of back he is. And he is explosive, and he will get a lot of catches. Look at Tony Pollard, I think, is a great example last year. And we know that we believe that Jahmyr Gibbs has far more juice than does Tony Pollard. And I don't think that's hot takey to say the juice part. And obviously the NFL told you by where they drafted him. This is no slight on Monty, by the way.
So for you, man, where would you rank Jamir Gibbs right now? You got to think about it on the spot.
I don't even have to think that hard about it. I go Bijan 1. I'm still going to put Breece 2. I'm going to put McCaffrey and Taylor there. And I think he's tied for me. I'm going to probably lean Barkley. So I think I'm going to put him at 6 at the lowest. He's 5 or 6 for me at running back.
That feels right. That without even thinking about you, I'm just pulled it up and I'm like, I bet he's at 5 or 6 for me, and he's at 6. Right? I got Barkley just,
and then there's no one after that makes any sense. I can't put anyone behind.
I can't make an argument. Mm-mm. Maybe I want to do the Austin Eckler thing just because he keeps producing. But I'm not going to lie to you. The whole change in the Kellen Moore splits with running backs and. Shit, man, the guy had a weapon like Tony Pollard and still didn't use him enough in the passing game, which Austin Eckler gets a ton of. Little concerning, but I'm going to put Austin Eckler behind him. Nick Chubb I do love for this year, but Jacobs, Najee, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Henry, I can't make a case for any of those guys over Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm with you.
Here's my question on this one, 7 Go Rings. But I actually like Walker still, but how do you do that? How is your argument for Gibbs? Monty is in the way, but then we see them draft Zach Charbonnet as the 3rd running back overall to obviously get into the workload of Kenneth Walker. I just from a sheer process evaluation of assets, I don't know how the argument for Gibbs is that Monty's in the way when Walker just had a great rookie season, at least in fantasy, and they drafted a 2nd round running back. So I guess that would be my it's not. I'm not even going to argue it. my curiosity on that one. All right, so let's
get some questions.
I was gonna say we got to get some questions. If you guys want another King story later on, let me know. I got a great sports story that I could give to you later.
Shit, we got time. No. Just go ahead and drop it down.
We'll do it. We'll do it later. I don't want to make sure they want to do it. We got a bunch of questions here. We've been sitting for half. Okay. I mean, we're a half hour in, dude. Like I'm gonna get it to them if they want to hear it. But if they don't, they don't need to. Right. Here we go. Because here's what I'm thinking. Slenmo is asleep right now. This question's been sitting there. I don't even know what time this was. It doesn't have the stamp, but this was in there before we started, right?
He's over in Europe. He's definitely asleep right now.
I got a great Slenmo story for you too. Last time I was doing team reviews, I did 4 of them, and Melo was fighting me so hard that it's the wee hours of the morning now, and all of a sudden a new face pops into the Discord, and it's Slenmo who's just waking up, and I have not been to bed because he's over in the UK, and he's having his morning coffee, and I'm hammered, and we had a nice conversation. I guess kind of. I was hammered. I'll be asleep for the live, but wanted to drop in and ask about pick hoarding. At what point are you willing to overpay for a pick on a rebuild? Is your 6th first worth more than your 5th first? I think this is a convoluted question, but to the first question and then the specific final question, Mike, what do you think?
I think there's probably like tiers as far as they matter. We did a whole episode on this on 4D Chess, right, about pick hoarding, and kind of the conclusions that we had was, if you've got 8, 9, 10, like it's really hard to miss in the class, even if everybody sits there and makes you take every single one, right? Like, fuck them, you take them, you got to pick them. I'm going to make you do every one of these. It's hard to miss. You're going to have some, but you're also going to have a lot more hits that are out going to weigh all your misses. So it's a complete wash, if not in your favor. I would say like getting your 2nd first is kind of in a tier. Getting your 3rd or 4th is like the next tier because now you have a certain percentage. 5 or 6 really doesn't matter to me. I guess you could say like you got half, but it's kind of like the same thing. Getting like 8 or 9, probably a big deal. Probably a big deal. I would say I don't really want to overpay for any of them. That's kind of the point.
Well, yeah. To the first question, overpay for a pick. Yeah. If I'm going to overpay for a pick, it would be what is someone's considering to overpay for a generic. When I look at, like, let's say, shout out to the website, and it's a league simulator, and I'm like, yeah, this is the one I want to bet on. Like, I'll overpay in generic sense because I think this is a top 4 pick. I would say that's the one thing that also carries over to the second part. There's a couple things. One, just like when you have 6, like when you have 5, you have enough to go buy basically anyone. Adding a 6 obviously is the same thing. But what it does do, if you actually hold on to them long enough to see how the league shapes out, it's one more shot where you already have half of the shots at the prize pieces, right? That to me is the biggest part of leveraging more and more of the first is when you have half versus a quarter versus a third. Like, how many shots do you have to get, Melo's 101, right? Like, that's the whole idea. I want as many shots at Melo's 101 as possible.
The chat is fucking wild. I'm sorry.
I'm
not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it.
You got Melo up here. Give us the fucking LeBron story. We got 4 sheep rings. It's crazy. It's crazy. Chat.
This is what AMA is all about, man. We got Goat Ring's getting all kind of I don't know if we want to call this love, hate, or all the above in the chat. We got Barry's out here saying he's dead.
It's wild.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's not. I don't want to overpay to a random first, but if I think it's worth betting against, I'll overpay for a generic sense. The 6th and the 5th, it just gives you more shots at better, higher end assets. Because that's the thing. If you think about how you play it out longer, is when you get stuck with picks, so to speak, it's because you didn't move them, right? And then you realize, okay, well, we have names now, and it's the 110, right? When you have 6, you have a lot more chances at 101, 102, 103, 104, and even in 23, which we thought was a disappointment. Like, how those trade for 3 picks sometimes if someone's really wanting to pay up for a Bijan or a Rich. So that's the big piece for me. Kyle, since you asked, buddy, Melo, I'll give it to you later on. I got you for that.
He's gonna lose his shit.
Love it. All right, let's get it. We have so many questions, man. I got to try to get some of these popped up more. I like this start, by the way. I know we're going backwards, but do you believe in miracles? What's up, boys? Then we had your boy Cody Rip, for those of you who don't know, I don't believe in miracles. And Redwoods,
It's unfortunate.
they believe in you. This was one of my favorite starts to just the discourse that's going on in here.
That's probably how the chat got as wild as it did right there.
It started early and it keeps going. All right, we got questions galore, Mike. So let's start with Wyatt. 10 teams, start 11, Superflex PPR. He traded Kyler and A.J. Dillon for my 2024 first back. Top 3 projected. Thoughts?
10 team like Kyler doesn't mean as much, like in a 12 team, I'm buying him because the disrespect has gotten so ridiculous, right? 4th round startup. I don't know how, but whatever.
Right.
10 team, not as much, right? Those like QB 11 and 12, they just don't mean as much to a lot of people. So I'm good with this. I'm good. It feels a little heavy, like to trade Kyler, and the Dillon part I don't give a shit about at all. Like, no thank you. But to get your top 3 projected pick back, like that could be an absolute ridiculous difference maker. And whoever it is, Quinn Ewers, or not Quinn Ewers, sorry, Matt Bruning's gonna love the fact that I just assumed Quinn Ewers is gonna be the number 1 overall pick. Sorry, Matt, to get your hopes up. But Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., like one of those guys in there that's going to probably go in a 10-team super flex startup before Kyler ever would. And A.J. Dillon is just a who gives a fuck piece.
Right. I'm okay with this one because Dillon, to me, isn't any piece that matters in a 10-team especially. Like in 12 team, I can still kind of, as much as I don't love him, get behind he's still worth something,
I guess.
In 10 team, I'm like, dude, I really, like, I already don't like him in 12 team, but he's worth something. Like in 10 team, if you have to start A.J. Dillon in 10 team, that means that like Aaron Jones is hurt and he's smashing unexpectedly, or your team blows, period. Like those are the 2 scenarios. That's it. I'm fine with this, especially if you have a chance to make it in a 10 team and you have decent enough quarterbacks like Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
In 10 team, we saw, Mike, we talked about this looking at WoRP, which you guys will see in a week from now when we look at the trade shows. 10 team leagues, sometimes these 10 team leagues in WoRP, the wide receivers are every bit as valuable as the quarterbacks because of how replaceable a quarterback is in a 10 team league.
Yep. That's a big thing. Right. WoRP opened our minds to that one.
Yeah, and it's, we don't play in 10-team leagues, frankly, but
exactly.
that shows you.
We have 11 friends, not 9.
And some of us, I don't even think these guys are my friends. I like to just beat on them up here. Kyle's out here beating. This house is a prison. I'm playing it bullshit. I mean, these guys are literally doing the Step Brothers in the streets, Mike. This is what's happening behind our backs.
We're gonna have a riot if I don't get this LeBron story, I think.
Okay, you want the LeBron story now? Is that what's happening?
We need
All
it.
Right. All right. So, I'll go ahead and I'll give it to you then, since you want it. So, take a rewind back in time. Let's go time machine on it. All right. We'll get questions after I finish this. So, 2002. There used to be a AAU tournament called the Solon Cage Classic. It might even still be around, but it used to be a very big deal before these mega tournaments that now everyone travels all across the country. Right. So the Solon Cage Classic in 2002, I'm playing, by the way, this is pretty funny, for a team named Buckeye Lube. Pretty fitting for our show.
Sponsored by
Buckeye Lube. And so I'm 7th going into 8th grade. And, you're so clueless on the world, and you think kind of the world revolves around you. You're in the Solon Cage Classic, and about second quarter, this stands are filled in this game we're playing in, Mike. Like, they're like, oh, shit, like, people are coming to watch us play. Let's go. Like, here we go. Like, we're ready to go.
They're coming to see us.
And then all of a sudden, like, second half, like, they're standing, and we're like, man, let's go. Like, we end up getting the win, all excited, all to realize when the game's over, see the next team warming up. If you've seen more than a game and you saw like the old St. V LeBron team, that's basically what it was. The Shooting Stars, which was LeBron's team, his AAU team. So you're basically watching LeBron. You got
listen. I just watched on Peacock. Peacock made a movie called Shooting Stars. Same thing, based off of more than a game.
Really?
They got actors to play.
I need to check this out then. Okay.
Right. So on Peacock, there's a movie now. Shooting Stars. Yep.
Man,
just watched it.
Okay, so Mike's this is top of mind for Mike. So you saw like Romeo and Drew and all these guys were on there, right?
Little Drew,
yeah.
full name right. Little Drew.
Well,
Right.
The thing is, see, the Little Drew thing for me is hard because what people don't know is he had a younger brother. Now it's Little Drew, but Cam was in my class and he was even smaller than Drew was, which is probably hard to believe. Yeah, right, but anyway, so Little Drew
had them all. Started as a Fab 4, then went to the Fab 5.
Exactly. So they're playing, and you start realizing like, yeah, they weren't even here for us at all. World doesn't revolve around you. This is all about watching LeBron.
They're here for the shooting stars.
So all right, so check this out, right? So they're basically like turning this into a track meet, and it's just open season, right? It's AAU. They're throwing the ball around. LeBron's getting lobs. Drew's shooting deep threes. Romeo's like looking like he would be the best player on the court by far if LeBron wasn't out there.
Right?
They're up 15, and then they finally get a blow to these guys. So LeBron, if you don't know kind of his story, like his mom's a little bit of a loose cannon, we'll say that, right? Gloria. So He's sitting at the bench, and he just checked out. I'm sitting up in the stands watching, and he's shouting over to his mom, "Mom, I need a water." And this is during like a dead period, like it's a dead ball. And I ain't got no water. Okay, you got to get water. And so I'm sitting here like in the stands, looking in my bag. I got a Deja Blue water sitting in my bag. Like, I got an extra one. I'll go run it over to this dude, So I take it over to him. Kind of like the song, "Waiting on my moment." Like, that's just, here we go. I got this, man. I got you on the water. You ain't got to go to the concessions, man.
All my dreams are coming true, man. LeBron's going to know I brought him water.
So here I come down the stands, go around, handing the water. He's just like, "Thanks, man," and just probably didn't think nothing much of it after that. So they go on, they kill it, they win the game. So afterwards, like before the game's over, or before the next game's on, everyone's on the court trying to talk to him and get all this. So Mike, I'll give you the reason this story came up was I was going through my parents' house, and you see this smudge? It's pretty noticeable.
It's pretty noticeable.
Noticeable smudge. LeBron, I ended up after that going to get his autograph, and the crazy part is, this is all I had on me. This is all I had on me at the time. You're not going to not get LeBron James' autograph, right? These are the shoes I was rocking, the old AIs, LeBron 02, as you can see right there.
I had them. I had a pair of AIs.
Did you?
They were all white, though. White on white.
Okay.
White on white.
That's
what we rocked. That's what we rocked in 2002, starting for varsity basketball right there.
Oh, my God. Are you seeing the comments? Was she there with Delonte West? Oh my God.
Oh, these savages. These guys are savages.
But yeah, man, there's the, what am I, 13 or something? Like a young kid story that, and even then you don't realize LeBron's going to be what he is. So anyway, I had those shoes I found in my parents' house, like buried.
So was that AAU? Was that in the summer of 02?
Yeah, so it was the spring going into the summer, right? So this was he was going to be a senior in high school the following season. So it was going to be 02-03.
He hadn't got that Sports Illustrated article yet, I don't think, at that time.
Nope. You're talking about like the Hummer and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, they had all that hype too, right? In 02, they played Melo's team, Carmelo Anthony's Oak Hill.
Yep.
And Melo took it to him. Kind of
not our Melo, Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo, right? Kind of took it to him, and they kind of hinted that LeBron went out and kind of partied the night before, had a horrible game.
Here we go.
Don't worry, they came back.
The world needs a one-on-one game between Mike and Adam.
They came back next year and they smoked the shit out of Oak Hill. Although Carmelo wasn't.
Angel said, "Bro wrote that himself with Crayola marker." Oh no! Damn.
Right. Noticeable smudge.
But anyway,
this feels like the Sandlot. Like, who's Baby Ruth?
Those shoes are worth at least a bottle of water. The Fantasy Plumber. love to hear that, man. I also will tell you one part. I tried to get his headband, and he said, "This is my only headband. You want my only headband?" Like basically, like I'm gonna take his shirt off his back, and I was like, "My bad, sorry for asking." So just took the autograph and got out of there, man.
I find it hard to believe LeBron only had one headband.
I know he didn't. Well, I don't know. At that point, I mean, he didn't have a bottle of water, so who knows?
Those were the days too, man. I used to love that. You watch those teams because I was in high school growing up, right when he became big, and this is before social media and everything. So the dude's making Sports Center as a a kid in high school, which was kind of unheard of at the time. But he had the whole thing, right? When he actually played for his high school team, he had to put them patches on and cover up his tattoos.
Yeah,
they all had to
you all had to cover the tattoos, yep.
Right, the swag, too. They didn't have the thin jerseys up top, right? They had the
not,
ones that
not only didn't have the thin, the box that's hanging off the edge. You couldn't even see the top of his, like, shoulder.
He used to wear the headband too, where it was like over the ears, which was always a G move. I tried.
He did it in AAU.
I tried that in high school.
They were over the ears. They were over the ears.
It gave me a headache. Like I don't know if it got on a nerve, but it gave me a headache. So, that was back. If you don't see it anymore, but that was back. The dude's over there just biting his nails every moment that he had. He just literally chewed on them things like crazy. It was wild. Josh says he was living in Worcester that year and went to several high school games. Yeah, so I wasn't very far from where you're at. I grew up in Akron area. So anyway, that's the LeBron story. Let's get back to questions, man. I love this.
And you guys can kind of you like that the
right. But since you're cleaning it out and like you think Michael Jordan's a GOAT, like does that mean you're going to give me the LeBron smudge? Like, do I get
I'll tell you what. Here's the last point I was going to say. Now, tell me how many people have LeBron game-worn shoes that are your own that he signed.
Right.
Mine. And they're also AIs. Like the weirdest combination. They're Allen Iverson's shoes that I wore that he signed. I don't know if there's any monetary value to that, but I don't care. They're mine. You can't get them from me. Sorry.
I think I still got the first edition LeBrons, right, that I bought way back.
The ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think I still got them. I'm going to go sign them with crayon.
Come on, man.
Put them on.
By the way, I didn't have, like, I wasn't, from a family that had a bunch of money, so I had to keep wearing those the rest of the year after LeBron signed them, too.
Dynasty Alex is correct. Me with a headband. I did go off. I used to wear the headband. I used to wear a shooting sleeve, and I used to wear the high socks, man. I used to buy the soccer socks that went all the way up to your knees, right? We went like full Kyle Korver. Prime Kyle Korver.
Actually, you know what? Josh is saying it's one-of-a-kind shoe. Take them to Golden Auctions. You're going to have to pay up, though. If they would, I would consider it, and roll it back into the brand, the shit brand. But
there you go, man.
And I'd imagine, I kind of feel like it's, more of a cool story and funny thing to show on a South Harmon than it is really worth much money. But
that's all right.
All right, there you go. That was the other story.
Great, buddy. I loved it.
All right, so in a best ball league, what kind of package would you tear down off of T. Higgins for?
I feel like
we got this last week.
I don't know last week, but we've definitely got it maybe a couple times on this show.
I'll still answer it. I really feel like we had the same question last week.
Yeah, I'm probably looking like I don't think you can get a tear down that's like meaningful to like Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, DK, Cooper Kupp, Smitty, Drake London, JSN, right? Everybody's going to go, well, they're basically the same. But I think you can most definitely in best ball get a tear down that might be like DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, and a first, which would I actively be trying. Adam, I think when we talked about this before, it's like, would you do T. Higgins for Deontay Johnson in a first? And I think I'm kind of like, that's borderline.
Settings matter a lot there. Like if it's lineup start 9, no way. If it's lineup start 12, probably not, but I understand maybe there. Best ball start 12. Oh, it does say best ball. See, I'm out here not reading the start.
Still best ball reminiscent about LeBron.
No. Best ball league though. I like best ball league. If it's not like a start 9, one of those crazy shallow ones, I think I'm definitely gonna be willing to take it in best ball.
Yeah. If we're talking best ball, so like Deontay in a first, Christian Kirk in a first, Calvin Ridley in a first, you okay with that? Like I think I am.
Calvin Ridley in a first for sure. Just because I'll tell you, I won't spoil the trade show, but market for him might be a little higher than most people think.
Right. A certain somebody out there. I think that's probably, I got like 35, 36 wide receivers.
Yeah, best ball, there's a lot more opportunities to tear down from him. Terry in a first.
Yeah, I do Terry in a first.
Okay, Godwin in a first. Hollywood in a first. Kirk in a first. Amari in a first.
Amari definitely. Wait, Terry.
No Hollywood? For real?
Nah, I'm good.
Best ball? Well, I'm taking that. I don't even like Hollywood, but I'll take that just because it's best ball.
I think it's fair. I out of principle and
You hate the guy?
Noted Hollywood hater who just likes to fight at every turn, I would say no. Like, I'm not going to cave. I'm not going to cave to my correct process to spite my Hollywood hate. So, no.
I love it. All right, Dynasty Alex has been feeling like Scott Connor with the amount of trades he's been sending out. How many have you got accepted?
Yeah, that guy's a fucking machine. Scott just hammering trades.
I mean, he like the process. I kind of would like to see it once, like maybe at the expo.
Right.
Like, hey, when you get this, thought process, like I want to see how you actually go through. Is there like an efficient way where you send out in your 50 leagues,
well, hopefully we
36 trades or whatever?
Hopefully we get him up on like Friday and then just follow him around like a day in the life of Scott Connor as far as Dynasty is concerned. Like I want to be there at every waking moment.
Put a GoPro on him.
Right, like he goes to the shitter. I want to see how many offers he's sending out on the shitter.
Oh,
like, I want to know.
Dude, downtime. Can you imagine? Like Scott Connor downtime. It's got to be.
Oh,
speaking of Sharp, Jaden Sharp, 10-team Superflex half PPR. I have Hurts, Dak, Lawrence, and Stroud looking to win now. Would you be okay trading Stroud for McCaffrey? Oh my goodness, 10-team. That is a absolute steal. In 12-team, honestly, with this quarterback room, I might want more, but you could totally consider it because McCaffrey's that good, even though he's an aging asset.
Yeah, I'd be okay with it.
10-team. I honestly think it's a huge win.
As long as you can reasonably backfill your QB3 for injury risk avoidance, which in a 10-team.
No, you have Hurts, Dak, and Lawrence in 10-team.
Oh, so. I forgot the Hurts part. I was just looking at Dak and Lawrence being like, yeah, fuck it, why not? Yes.
Jaden, if you actually can get that done, you should go to patreon.com/South Harmon and put that on the trade show because that would be outrageous.
Maybe ask for something more, but yeah, I'd do it.
I am with you. I would do it. All right, I gotta get the questions. Now I'm into the Gibbs stuff. All the Gibbs hate that's flowing our way.
Can't take it anymore.
7 Goat Rings is very upset about Pollard comparisons, everything. All right, Evan, another 10-team Orphan Superflex start 11. Mike, tiered PPR, half point for the running back, full for the wide receiver, 1.5 tight end. Quarterbacks are Allen Hurts. Running backs are Pollard, Rachaad White, Kendre, and other bodies. DeAndre Hopkins, Ridley, Myers, and shit at receiver. Receiver room in 10-team is not what I like to see that, to tell you the truth. Tight ends Goddard, 324 first. Love to see that. What's your strategy to get better at receiver? I'll be honest with you. What I've seen in WoRP in my lack of playing in 10-team leagues, I'll give you what I think. And I think the economy here is going to be very driven by receivers from what I've seen in WoRP and how I see the leagues. And like what I see all the time in those 10 teams, like the last question, Mike, like someone can actually roster 4 of the top, 20 quarterbacks because as long as you have one of the top 12, you're okay, right? Like the WoRP on the lower ones isn't as high, but the wide receivers we see a lot of times in WoRP, especially when it's half PPR at running back and it's full at receiver, is huge. So like I feel like the economy for receivers here is very heavy and is what's going to make like truly getting the elite difference makers at receiver much more difficult in this format. If that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
gonna lie, when I look at it, right, it's a 10-team super flex. You're average to below average at tight end. You're elite at quarterback. Your running back room is not good. Your wide receiver room is not good.
And your tight end position is not a positional advantage at all in 10-team.
Right. So you already have 324 first. I'm looking at it going like, instead of me trying to fight an uphill battle and like fight it off, why don't I just sell D-Hop, Ridley, Goddard, Pollard, Rachaad White, Kendre if somebody really wants to buy them. I'm going to hold on to these quarterbacks, but let me see if I can get 4 first, 5 first, 6 first, right? And just really try to set it up where I'm going to have Allen Hurts, and then I'm going to hit the top of 24, whether it's quarterback, whether it's, setting myself up with Marvin Harrison Jr., or whether it's setting myself up with Brock Bowers, some of these running backs that are coming in, and really try to shoot for 24, 25 to compete. You can do it, but it's like, all right, so you take Ridley in one of those first and you try to move up into an elite game changer position, right? You take Jacoby Myers, like a first added on to him isn't going to buy you probably what you want to actually like do anything. And then you're also setting yourself up with one of those firsts is probably your own, and now you got to trade that away, and you're setting yourself up for somebody just getting a gift if you like Pollard goes down, shit, I'm starting Rashad White and Kendre Miller at running back, and my receivers aren't like gonna carry me. So I think, to be completely honest, if this is my team, I'm going the other way with it. I'm keeping Allen and Hurts unless somebody gives me a Godfather offer. I already got 324 first. I'm selling the rest of this shit. Just you take it.
So your idea is to go get Marvin Harrison Jr., basically.
Go try to hit the elite studs in 24, make my pick better, as well as, try to hit a Rocket Sanders, try to hit a Travion Henderson, try to hit one more quarterback, that might carry, Caleb Williams is everything that people say he is, right? Even though I don't need him because I have Allen and Hurts, I could trade him for a massive haul that gets me in the conversation of getting an elite wide receiver.
I'm just thinking start 11 because, okay, the quarterbacks aren't as scarce, so, their market won't be as high. But these two guys, their WoRP is high enough that even in start 11 – it makes a huge difference over the other quarterbacks. So, your edge there still matters like it would in a 12-team start 11. The problem, though, like Mike's saying, is because it's a 10-team, other teams are going to have better running back rooms and better receiver rooms than they would in a 12-team league, right? Which basically means these ones, which are serviceable at best in a 12-team league, are definitely below par in a 10-team league. I would say, I could see the way Mike's talking about doing it. I would also say that if you're able to lock down, let's say you can trade the other two first and get into the elite conversation with a receiver, it's worth it. But what I probably think is the easiest the passive least resistance is to go get Marvin Harrison Jr. and then also sell off assets to give you better chances at getting 24 picks. If you're dead set on contending right now, it's going to take a lot to get better at receiver, man. Because in 10-team, you basically have to trade, Mike, in my opinion, really high. You got to trade into the top 12 dynasty receivers. It's got to be Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Wilson, A.J. Brown, that type of a player in a league like this to actually jump you into a positional advantage at receiver. Otherwise, you're kind of fighting age in an uphill battle at your depth is not that great.
Here's what I love about it though. If you've got the league simulator tool, you can plug this in.
That's a great point. Evan, if this is a sleeper league, you can plug in on our website, southharmonff.com/, and you go to WoRP. If you sign up for the WoRP tool, you can see the WoRP on this league. And then on top of that, you can do the league simulator, see where those 24 first look, where your team projects versus the league, and then make a better decision on, do you want to tear it down or do you want – and keep Allen and Hurts at all costs in this for the record. But either way, do you want to tear it down with the idea of competing in 24, or do you want to go maybe make moves to win right now?
Right. I'm with you. Unless it involves something where somebody really wants Josh Allen and they're like, I'm not as high on Joe Burrow. I'll trade you Burrow for your Allen and you can get another piece. Right? Those are the kind of where you'd move those quarterbacks. But most cases you're going to want to keep them.
Fizzle's in the building. As you know, I'm a Dallas fan for life. I recently took CD over Chase in a startup. If this is actually recently, Fizzle, man, why? You can root for him all you want. I mean, well, I like CD a lot too, but just the market on Chase is crazy. You could probably trade away Chase later for a CD, but he's got to be excited to see Dez coming to the Expo, man. You seen that?
He's elated. I saw his Twitter post with all the jerseys.
6 jerseys.
He even got the Saints jersey in there, the Dez Bryant Saints jersey.
Speaking of which, if you Fizzle, I don't know if you saw the shoe. You can take. I guarantee you can take those jerseys there and get Dez to hook you up with a signature. Maybe drop him a song. You'll be good to go.
Right. Just drop him the intro to all of our podcasts, right? To be like, this is fire here. I'll sign every one of these.
I can't believe, man. It's crazy. He's doing a show with Luke every week, man. I could not believe that. Wild. It's pretty cool to see him very, very into the space of fantasy. Right. I love seeing that.
I love it, man. I also saw, for those of you that know, Lisa Ann is going to be at the Expo.
Yeah, saw that. That's coming. Cool.
I was excited about that one. I don't know. Fantasy productions, Chase has been really good. He just always just seems like he's just lacking, but we're also comparing him to Justin Jefferson, who's a god amongst men at this point. So value-wise, definitely Chase over Lamb. But, hey, sometimes you just got to go get your guy, right? I understand that one. I probably wouldn't do it 95% of the time, but if you're a big CeeDee Lamb Dallas fan, whatever. I'm not going to knock you out. I'll make fun of you in the league chat.
Right. But I mean,
here I'd be like, all right, I understand it. Fizzle, you're my guy. I understand it.
Typically, though, like if you're doing a lot of the process, if you're doing a lot of the process stuff right, like you can afford to go ahead and take your guy a couple times. It's just,
right.
You know, it's not a good process move, but hey, you want to root for your guys. I get it. Mike, and then it's about Mike, and we're talking to Mike. So I'm literally clueless as to there's too many Mikes. Any good Mike Evans dump off trade ideas? I feel like I might end up having to sit on him till retirement. I think this is totally league dependent for me.
Right. Man, he just feels like one of those guys that he's probably worth more on your team, league format, depending, than he's going to fetch you in a trade. I don't know. Can you get like a lawn dart? In reality, it's a lawn dart shot of like Rashee Rice in a second. Like, would that be enough for you? Like, if you really wanted to get off Evans?
Here's the thing. Right now, I'll tell you my idea is selling him in June is a terrible idea. Period. He's so. We were talking about this on one of the shows recently, Mike. Like, it felt like about 3 years ago in the offseason, Mike Evans started feeling geriatric. So now it's like he's really old. I think right now market would basically tell you that like you could probably get a second for him, and that's to me too light. If you can get Rashee Rice in a second, I think I would probably do it with the idea of if I can flip Rashee Rice again right away. I think that's my play personally if I got that type of a trade. But yeah, like you're not going to get better than you're not. I don't think there's any way you get better than that for Mike Evans right now, man. Personally, people are crazy high on Rashee Rice right now because attached to Mahomes. And speaking of which, is a good segue to get to T-Rock.
Man, they hate that Jamar Chase take I had. Listen, I'm not saying he's bad, man, but it's never been Justin Jefferson level, even close. They're not in the same fucking stratosphere, period. And he's valued as right there, 1A, 1B with Justin Jefferson. And I'm saying that's a fucking falsehood. It is. You find me a number where he shows me they're in the same stratosphere, I'll fall out of this fucking chair because it doesn't exist. Spike weeks, consistency week.
You hear that?
Point per game, WoRP, doesn't fucking matter. Okay?
You hear that?
He's valued there by the community. But it is lacking when you think about, hey, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, 1A, 1B. There is no 1A, 1B. It's 1 and there's 2. 2.
For the chemists out there, go ahead and put it out there. The elemental reason that remember when we were having a nice peaceful class and I asked about buy lows and it felt like I was back in Nam with all the blood and screaming that ensues.
He's bringing up Savage Semester.
By the way, if you are a patron, Savage Semester once a week. Savage tier only can come on the show. People that are in the $5 tier can watch it, and then $1 tier can, I think, listen to it later. You guys should all do it if you're patrons because Mike and I were talking about this yesterday. Like the way we signed off, I kind of was like, you know what? The energy is enough to really lean into this. And Mike was like, I'm good. And I'm like, all right, we're out of this thing. And I think that people thought there was really bad blood when if you weren't around for the OG days, that was nothing between some of the arguments we used to have. But Mike and I, when you're best friends, like basically it's like, kind of like brothers, you can kind of punch them, and then like 2 days later, it's all love,
You text me the next day, like, you good? And I'm like, I hope this isn't about last night.
No, that was about we were talking about Expo and maybe getting a booth and all that. And
no, we're good. I mean, it was pretty simple. I was right, you were wrong, and we just move on from there.
For sure. And what you know is with Mike.
There's the jab.
What you know is with Mike, you can give him, speaking of all the chemists that are going to come in here and give you the elemental reasons why Chase is even.
There it is.
There's no such thing as a factual check of Mike. He is going to lean into it. And, you kind of let him hang himself and just talk. So that's my advice to everyone else out here. All right. Let's get back to, there's a question that I had that was a good one. Man,
listen,
there's almost 100 people in here. I'm having a hard time keeping up with questions, bro.
So we'll just keep going, man.
Oh,
I ain't got no
we don't
order.
have. I may have to show you guys my small bladder again because if we're gonna go for a while, I've been drinking. Buy apple pie. I think this is a new tap in, at least for what I know.
First one I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
12
up?
team Superflex. Start 12, 2.0 tight end premium, 0.2 points per carry. You got to start 3 running backs. That does matter quite a bit. Give Mahomes and a 24 first. I already hate the start of this. T-Law, Andrews, and Mixon. No, my goodness, no.
Nope.
No.
I bet you if you punch those league settings into WoRP, Mahomes is still.
Buy apple pie. I'll tell you what. I'll give you a freemium. If this is a sleeper league, give me a response with the league ID or the league name, and I will be able to pull it up on my WoRP chart and tell you WoRP. And then also, because here's the thing, right? When I look at this trade, Mike, if I'm going from Mahomes to T-Law, like I need the first or the Andrews or whatever, right? So then
I'm not giving you a 24 first. You piss off.
And Mixon is not he's not nearly valuable enough anymore in market. And he's not secure enough to even like matter that much in this deal. No, I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
No, my God, no, man.
Nope. Easily pass right now.
But
But
was the big spoon?
I'd also imagine.
I'll tell you,
Who's the big spoon?
Cody. I actually, I got the answer for you. We talked about this on Savage Semester. You were probably too drunk to remember, but T-Rock's going to be your big spoon at the Expo, man. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think you're probably the big spoon because if you remember at the Expo last year, we did do some stuff together, and I was the one who sat on the casting couch. I think that automatically makes me a little spoon. I think just by default. So
You know what? Speaking
is the
of which,
casting couch still there?
Mike,
All right.
to the dismay of my wife who wants this thing in the trash, I fought to keep it in the corner. And
I was gonna ask if your wife made you throw that piece of shit out.
I wish I can't make my camera go over there to show y'all, but it's basically in the corner and it's actually standing up because there's no room for it. It's oh yeah, well, because it has to be there for at least a year, and then it becomes tradition, and then you can't get rid of it, right?
That's true. It's on YouTube forever.
Booth, Mike and Adam going to be handing out turds and telling passerbys, do you want to see what the Church of WoRP can do for you? And then I will tell, what we're going to actually do is also, you're going to get a Carnita from T-Rock for every flyer.
We will be at the booth, but not going to lie to you, man. That's also why we got Koopa. we got the WoRP God himself. All right. Here, Koopa, preach to him.
I fucking love this. I'll be honest.
Kind of like Christie's, I'll just throw enough money at Koopa until he's like, I got the booth.
We're getting a booth, all right? I don't care what you say. Oh,
we are getting a booth.
Robert Pecchio. Sab says hi. This was my best man at my wedding. He just checked in, and Robert was on the team. For all you guys saying it was in, Crayon, Robert was there. Robert, at least drop a comment saying this happened. It's real story. This wasn't, Crayola marker Adam drew on his old shoes he dug up.
We need it because it's up in the air at this point. You think you drew on crayon with your
that's his wife is Sabs, by the way. Sabrina says hi. What's up, Sabrina? All right, Mike. Let me ask you this question here. Superflex start 10, 12 team lineup, PPR, Bateman, or a 25-second. Like I know there's this worry of the cortisone shot, but this seems kind of silly, man.
Bateman.
But it's 25 feels way too far out, man. Even if you were panicked.
Yeah. Would you do it for a 24-second?
Probably not, but I could at least see someone that's like, I'm just scared, and they'll take the 24-second because it's safer. It doesn't have the upside, but it's safer, right? In their mind. 25? No way, man. Personally, I want Bateman pretty easy there. If Bateman ends up struggling this year and doesn't get to play a full season and all that, like I'll still hold him.
Let me ask you this one, hard-hitting question then. Would you take this? Would you take this pre-Debro being on here?
Yes. There's no like I still like Bateman. I've been very high on Bateman.
I was just asking.
There's no way in the world that I would a 25-second. No, man, stop. I can't. Oh, let's go. Here we go. Pecchio. I saw Adam dunk on Terrell Pryor. There you have it.
What? No way.
That was no way. Nice. Well played.
Fuck's sake.
Well played. I can lead a WoRP Wow.
Seance.
What is going on? No, I know. I'm trying to figure out. I can't keep up with the comments, man. It's kind of crazy.
That's good.
By the way, that Chase take was spicy. Only people offended were fangirls in here that can't think for themselves. I appreciate the non-normal take on Chase. Most say he's wide receiver 1, no contest. I would say most people say he's basically 1A, 1B with Chase. And I think our point is, I see a scenario where when the target volume goes up, if for some reason they can't keep T. Higgins, he could be in the conversation. But right now what we've seen, the targets are not high enough and sustainable enough for him to be in the conversation with him in WoRP. Market's totally different. I'm talking about just what they mean to you in points per game.
Right. So he was fantastic, right? He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks last year where he was a top 5 wide receiver. That's really good.
Wait, hold on. Gonna knock that. Angel says, "Give me the smudged AI sneaker over Bateman."
Oh shit, that's
hard. Do people hate Bateman or do they hate the sneaker? I don't even know at this point. Go ahead, I'm listening.
But he also had 4 weeks, right? Wide receiver 43, 29, 29, 32, where it just doesn't really mean shit to you. Just doesn't. Jefferson, on the other hand, 9 weeks, top 5. The other 12, making your lineup. So, it's a big difference between the two. I get it, Chase missed some time, but it's not a conversation for me. And I did see something in there. I don't know who commented on it, but it was, what about the quarterback situation in 24 or something to that effect? I mean, just think about that in your head where you're like, what happens in 2024 if Kirk Cousins isn't the Minnesota Vikings quarterback? And then think about what Jamar Chase has in Joe Burrow. Yes, is it a better quarterback he's had? Yeah, for the last 2 fucking years he's had a better quarterback, and it still hasn't mattered. Justin Jefferson is just good. I don't give a shit who the fuck's throwing him the football.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy. Justin Jefferson would still be wide receiver 1. He's fine. Yep. He's fine.
Yep. Yeah. So has Bateman played a full season? Injury history is enough to sell.
No, he has not.
He is not, and I think the cortisone shot is what also kind of makes it a little scarier because now if you're looking at year 3 of him with injury-riddled season and not playing well and consistent, market there, even if he ends up being better, is the scare part of it, I think, for Bateman. I'm still willing to – for a 25-second, I don't care. I'll take the risk, man. I'll find a way to get that type of a pick back later.
Right. Yeah, I'm in with you, too. I think it's a little bit too fucking low to sell Rashad Bateman. Now, if you told me
225 seconds,
okay,
we can have a much different conversation, right?
We'll have process over players at that point.
Yep.
You got to come to the table correct, though.
I'm with you there. All right, let's see what we got here.
Oh, great! We got the fantasy plumber. Why buy any Baltimore wide receiver? I love it. This is my obligatory. It feels like I have to say it, right? Todd Monken.
I think this is the perfect time for a Monken name drop.
Offense.
Why not buy? But see, I like to do analysis based on what the market does, and see the question being asked is the reason I'm buying Baltimore wide receivers too. Why buy any Baltimore wide receiver is, I think, a common narrative, which means that Zay Flowers is going later in drafts than I think he should, which means that Bateman's gonna. If I can buy Bateman for a 25-second, in a portfolio, you can get shots at guys really cheap in this offense. And with Lamar being paid and having reasons to play and feeling like he's a warranted valued player, and you have multiple shots at receiver and Monken, to Mike's point, at cost, I'm willing to buy quite a few of them.
I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you like I fucking know the ins and out of a Todd Monken offense, whatever the fuck that entails, okay? I just don't really care. The one thing I do know, though, is it's not a Greg Roman offense where you have this old school Maryland bullshit.
Who's a Greg Roman offense?
Exactly. It's not this. We're going to just line up and run triple option all the time. So that's why I buy Baltimore wide receivers, because it's not that fucking bad. Unless Todd Monken came from Georgia Tech and not Georgia, and old school Georgia Tech, not recent Georgia Tech, but old school Georgia Tech where they actually ran the triple option, like Calvin Johnson. Even then, they didn't even run the triple option. Demaryius Thomas. Demarius Thomas was the wide receiver at Georgia Tech, where they actually ran the triple option and he just ran 9 routes all the time. That's all he did. It was either we're handing off to the fullback, it's a pitch to the tailback, or we're going to fake all that shit and throw deep to Demarius Thomas. So as long as it's not that kind of offense, like Todd Monken offense seems like an upgrade for Baltimore wide receivers, just because they're not going to do the same shit they've always been doing for the last how many years with Lamar Jackson.
Dynasty Alex, it would take a lot more digging to find, and it wouldn't be digital. It would be on like a cassette type tape, one of those 8-track tapes. So, I mean, could it be found? Maybe. We'd have to do a lot of digging, but what the hell? Maybe I'll see if we can find it. Oh man, the digital part made me click on that because I got news for you. Back in 2002, it was just no digital anything.
No digital.
All right, Aaron Rodgers, Vikings QB. He's on the Favre trajectory.
Boom. Yeah, what happens to Justin Jefferson when Aaron Rodgers comes there next year? Right, look what happened to Garrett Wilson when Aaron Rodgers went there this year. What do you think happens to Justin Jefferson? In startups.
Hold on. Have you seen? Can't stay, but love what you guys are doing. Appreciate it, Russell. Keep tapping in, man. We are. You know what the crazy part is? We're just getting started, man. Mike and I were talking about this last night. This is going to be something we always do. Wow. We're only getting started. So thanks for tapping in. My Magic 8 Ball says Bateman is going to have a year like the good Will Fuller year if healthy. Hold on. Easy on Purdy. Mike, you want to be easy on Purdy? I know you don't. So
fucking don't.
Why do you hate him so much? Go ahead and tell people.
Listen, this comes from, and we're going to have Ray on 4D chess this week, right? So spoiler alert,
tomorrow.
We alluded to it. It's official.
You'll listen to it Friday. Yep.
Ray and I've had this conversation where like he knows my Brock Purdy hate. And this all stems from the same reason if you asked Ray about Max Duggan. Was Max Duggan a Heisman candidate this year? Yeah. Should he have been? Probably fucking not. Do I think Max Duggan's a good quarterback? No. But Ray fucking hates him. Why? Because he went to TCU. He fucking hates him. He hates him because he went to TCU. I hate Brock Purdy because he went to Iowa State. I'm an Iowa fan. Fuck Brock Purdy. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him with the passion. I don't want to see any success for him.
Even though he's Iowa State, like, are you someone that can get behind the underdog story? Not the underdog best ball, but for those want to know, like the underdog story in general. No. This isn't Purdy. I didn't ask about Purdy. I'm asking in the underdog story in general of are you in on that type of thing?
No, the last underdog story we had, I hated him for the longest time. I didn't like him till he went to Tampa Bay.
I'm not asking you to individual. I don't want you to individualize this. I want you to answer the question. Do you like the underdog story? Okay, he does.
Not a quarterback. I don't.
He likes the high end guys. He likes the favorite. All right, all right.
My
there you go.
Elite. Take him in the first round with size.
And y'all want to know why you can't ever win an argument with Mike? You can give him a question which is teed up for him to answer, and he'll fight you. It's. The only person that fights me maybe harder is Mello in a team review.
Rudy
Outside
was
of
a fucking bum too. Like I seen that.
My
Rudy
goodness.
He was a bum. Should have never got to play.
See, this is what happens when we gain. Someone's out there. Russell saying like what you guys are doing. We just lost like 4 subs because Mike says I hate Rudy. There's somebody
out there. There's at least 5-6 people out there going like, you know what, Mike's right. Fuck Rudy. He should have never gotten that game.
Oh, I like this one. I'm planting my flag this year on DJ Moore. All the ascending offense targets. Let's go, Mike. What? Let's talk about DJ Moore in a realistic sense, real quick, because we're more in on Fields than I think consensus. Like we talked about this on a show recently, where if Market was better on Fields, we'd be able to rank him higher, but we can't because Market is not there. Talk about DJ Moore for a second. I also see I got a couple questions we got to get to before we dip. I don't know how long you want to hang, but I got nothing to do. So,
DJ Moore, I had to listen. This is also like we got a Discord, right? We have a Discord where the patrons come in. Patreon.com/South Harmon. You're more than welcome to come in. It's a good time. But I even find myself like people who rock with us and mess with us. Like every now and then somebody just wants to try me. Like maybe it's a game. I spent far too long the other day arguing at work about DJ Moore. Like,
wait a minute. Hold on. We have a super chat from a new Jesse Anian. Pair character bowing down saying thank you. and the 3-part question incoming. Go ahead and keep going on DJ Moore until the question comes in.
So DJ Moore has played with historically bad quarterbacks for pretty much his entire career. He got his rookie year with still good pre-shoulder injury camp, and that was it. Like, it's been trash cans since. It's been god-awful dog shit. Justin Fields, we saw in college, can throw the football. We didn't see it last year. It was historically bad. It was historically low from a passing perspective. So the first thing when you look at the Bears, I go, I don't think they're going to have that again. Like, I don't think they're going to have that low of pass volume again. That's very hard to replicate. If I'm projecting, if I'm in on Fields, then by rights, I need to be in on DJ Moore. And one of the things I look at is maybe last year they were historically low in passing volume because Cole Kmet was their number one fucking target. Now, Cole Kmet's a fine tight end, but he definitely doesn't get you excited at the tight end position, and that's also why he ranks at like 13, 14, 15 or lower for a lot of people in Dynasty ranks. Nobody really cares. Their wide receiver room, Equanimous St. Brown, the not as good brother of Amon-Ra, right? Byron Pringle, Dante Pettis made some appearances last year. Velus Jones, remember him? That was fun.
I remember him. He's he's like our age, right?
They actively trade their pick to go get Justin Fields a weapon in DJ Moore and trade down, right? DJ Moore has been phenomenal with shitty quarterbacks. I can only make the one for one. My big stupid brain goes, Justin Fields, I think, is a pretty decent quarterback. That seems like it's going to work out okay. And then if you look at targets, like where DJ Moore is as far as target share, what the Bears had last year, it's easy for him to come in and get the same kind of target share, at least, if not better. But if you say it's a 27% target share like last year, that's still 144 fucking targets for DJ Moore. Yeah, I'm in on DJ Moore. I'm in. Finally, he gets a quarterback. Finally, for us, Justin Fields gets a receiver worth of shit. Darnell Mooney goes back to number 2. Chase Claypool is whatever, but I'm in. I'm in on all of them.
Real quick, I just wanted to give you guys an illustration of what it looks like when Mike, gets our viewership to get hate.
I'm getting attacked.
You guys are, right? See, here's the thing. Red Eye Jedi, by the way, I don't know you. This is just me messing around. But see, Mike, you see what you're doing? Like, we're not even the Titanic, and we got people wanting us to sink. Like
that's all right.
That's
all right. I was told last year Antonio Gibson was going to be waiver wire fodder by October, so I got that to go off of.
We missed a lot last year.
I missed a lot, but was Antonio Gibson waiver wire fodder? No,
no,
it was not.
All right.
Unless you play in a 16 league. I guess if you're playing a 16-team league,
we have a 3-part question.
All right, from Jesse, the super chat. Let's go.
Yep, Jesse. Priority to the super chat. All right, part 1. Mike, I hope you're ready for this. After this, I'm going to take a quick piss because I want to hang around unless you want to get out of here.
I'll keep talking.
Cool. I know I can just put a comment up here and Mike will go for as long as it's Purdy or Lance. We'll be fine. 10 teams, start 10, Superflex PPR. Just finished our startup. Quarterbacks: Hurts and Murray at the 606. Wow. It's 10 team, but still. Wilson, wide receiver. Wilson. Oh, he got Russ as quarterback 3.
Right.
Waddle, Devontae Smith, Dotson, Bateman, JSN, Pollard, Akers, Mixon, Pirine, Tank Bigsby, Kelsey and McBride. Kelsey in 10 team is huge. Okay, let's see where part 2 is. Paid for the WoRP, targeted the worst team, and traded JSN and Bigsby for a 24 first and second and Kraft. Okay. See, I like this idea. Now, I will say, though, in a 10-team league, right, like you're probably looking at trading basically JSN for Marvin Harrison Jr., given what your quarterback room is. But, like, as much as I like Tank and 10-team, he can go, and then Kraft is just an upside shot. So I'm still in. Let me ask you about this second part, Mike. Traded Kelsey for a 24 first, Dulcich and Brown. Is that AJ or Hollywood? If it's AJ, we're having a totally different conversation. Then traded Mixon, Brown, T. Williams for Ayuk. It's got to be Hollywood, right?
I would assume so.
It can't be AJ. It's not AJ.
Yeah, it can't be.
You ain't trading AJ Brown plus for Ayuk. So part 3. And just finished by trading Dotson and for Judy in a 24-second. What? You got a plus on Judy for Dotson, and I like Dotson, but that's theft. That is theft. I now have 324 first and a second, 324 first and 324 seconds, with 2 of the 3 projecting to be the 101 to 103. Wow. Took Kelsey at 406, Mixon to trade for a 24 first asset. Jesse says ended up being 4 parts. Love your guys' show. Stumbled across the channel 3 weeks ago. Appreciate it, Jesse. Keep tapping in. We will happily answer questions. Oh, rookie running back. That's Chase Brown.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay. I'll say this. What are your thoughts on the whole 3-part thing? For me, I think everything was great.
The only thing I don't know is
the Kelsey thing.
The 24 first for the Kelsey part.
Right. Like, that's what I'm asking too.
Was he using WoRP to also project? The league simulator is also to project that as a pretty shitty, like a good pick for him.
Agreed.
Shitty for the other manager. Right. If you're trading Kelsey for, I don't care about the Chase Brown shit at all.
Because here we got. Oh, where's the part? Where was the Kelsey trade at, man?
Part 2
must have been.
2.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so traded Kelsey for a 24 first, Dolchich, and Brown. So just think about this in a 10-team league, okay? And Jesse, this is where I think the WoRP can help if you have the tool. Sometimes, for example, Travis Kelsey for me, part of the reason I struggle with this trade, but in process you may be right. When I look at this trade in a 10-team league, I already know Travis Kelsey in any league has WoRP that's outrageous. Like if Travis Kelsey's healthy for next year, and the reason I say that's important is because of his age and his market, you will never get back from Travis Kelsey what he's worth in WoRP ever. It doesn't exist in Dynasty because of his age. The reason I even further lean into that is like in 10-team, Dolchich for me is not a replaceable backfill in tight end, right? Like I don't actually want Dolchich in 10-team leagues. I barely want him in 12-team leagues, to be honest with you, but I'll take him.
Right.
24 first, if it's very early, I understand the concept. But for me, Travis Kelsey in this type of a 10-team league where it's all about studs, like pushing your depth into like consolidation, that's got to be basically 101 or 102 for me to be like, all right, you won this deal. Or at least like it makes sense. Because Kelsey in WoRP in this league is going to be ridiculous. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah. I would have held out until like people realized it again, right?
But
like you're never getting a
in
massive
June,
haul for him,
right? Yeah,
you're never getting a massive haul for him. But week 1 when he goes for 20, right, 25, it's like anybody interested in Travis Kelsey now? You and I took him last year, right, on a team that was a productive struggle in the Bomb Squad 2, and it was like in June nobody wanted to give a shit for him. But then come, the first couple weeks of the season, he's scoring points. It was pretty easy to trade him. Like it was very easy to trade him when people go, holy shit, he still scores a lot of points. I probably need that on my team. So that's probably the only one out of those that I really didn't like. Overall, though, as a whole, this is also why you talk about 60% of your trades, right? Just do well on 60% of them. Because now he's sitting here, he's got...
Oh, hold on. Apparently, I clicked the first part 4. I drafted productive struggle, wanting to load up in 24 picks, compete once Murray is back, which would be the 2024 season. But yeah, I get what you're doing. Looking to take top 2 quarterbacks, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Bowers with the top 2 picks. Top 2 4 picks. Am I crazy? So this is kind of what we're answering, but I didn't have this context up. So
the Bowers part, like already penciling him in. I'm probably good with it. Like, I don't know. It depends on how he scores. You got the WoRP tool. You'll know like how those tight ends score, right? He's got to be generational Kyle Pitts level, which possibly could be to be worth that selection. But you walk out of there with Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, or Drake May, like you're feeling pretty fine with what you traded away. Outside of the Kelsey one, I think was a little light, and I would have waited.
Can I give? By the way, I think that was a great summary. By the way, appreciate the super chat, Jesse. I'm going to go to this one here. Robert wasn't in here when I dropped the story, so he had to go back and watch it. And he says, the LeBron story is true. True story. Buckeye Lib was a tough name for a junior high team. Also, we saw LeBron's ankles get broken in that game. He had about 50 dunks and 1 ankle broken. By the way, speaking of the digital stuff, that's a good point, Robert. Dynasty Alex was asking about the digital tapes. LeBron confiscated any form of media from this game because his ankles were broken. You couldn't leave with any type of recording of any sort because he wasn't going to let that get out. That's how LeBron goes about it, the GOAT, if you will.
He didn't even have the Razor phones available at that time, man. That's pre-Razor phone. You couldn't even record a grainy video.
That's what I mean. You had to have the full digital camcorder, like and then you had to take the 8mm out. So
let's go.
You like that?
50 dunks. Just imagine.
He did. And they're just throwing lobs. It was a track meet. 12-team Superflex PPR start 11 lineup. How close is Pickett? My Pickett for Ayuk. I know quarterback is king, but Addison is my wide receiver 1. Mac is my QB 5.
So he's got 5 quarterbacks. I'm assuming Pickett's probably QB 4 then for him.
Yeah, that's what he's alluding to.
And he wants to trade him like a QB horde, one for one.
Straight up for Brandon Ayuk.
Pass for me, man. I'm not giving up that leverage.
I'll take Ayuk, but I need a plus. Like I'm not doing it 1 for 1. Right.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah.
Piss out of here.
But let's talk about it though.
Yeah.
What's the plus look like? Like, what are you asking?
Couple seconds.
I think a second's fine. Just because one of the things we talk about too, Mike, since he has 5, is when you see a deal like that go through, now it's like you've kind of made it known that you're going to win, but it's reasonable, right? So people might actually come for the other quarterbacks and ask.
Might come for now Mac Jones as your QB4.
Circling back to that start question of the whole night, right? When do you start selling or sending out offers? Mm-hmm. Once you make it known what the market is and what the price is, and if it's reasonable, now you actually can make the quarterback horde in your favor. So I'll say this. I know what you're doing in process, but I think because you have the leverage at quarterback in Superflex, it's 12-team, you have the right to ask for a plus, which isn't like breaking him off, but making it known that the quarterback horde is real. Like if that makes sense.
Just don't give up your leverage so easily.
Exactly.
Yep. Just because you're like, I only have Addison at wide receiver 1. That's fine. I'll ride with all these quarterbacks. Good luck to you guys. You're gonna need 1 or 2.
All right, T-Rock. T-Rock wants me to tuck him in.
Let's tuck him in then.
Peace, T-Rock. We'll have a good time with you at the expo. Get yourself ready for riding dirty for Savage whenever that is.
Right.
And
get that cat hat back out, I guess.
I honestly, Mike, I missed that completely. And when I saw the screen capture, I was dying laughing.
Adam, I missed it too, but I was cleaning up 6-year-old vomit all over my dining room floor at the time, so I kind of had a good excuse.
And that's also a reason why, I can understand why Mike was in an argumentative mood. Like, he had to leave class and cleaning up puke, and then.
Well, what happened was her mom told her before she went to gymnastics that she could have 2 beef sticks. She ate 6 and then went to gymnastics and went to bed. And I found all 6 beef sticks. Let's just say the search was over. I found them all.
That is
rough
brutal.
night for me.
Adam on the clock, which feels like a channel we have in our Discord, by the way. 12-team Superflex lineup, start 10, half-point PPR. He got Kyle Pitts for David and Njoku and my 25 first and second. I do believe in miracles.
Okay.
Mike.
Okay. Listen, I just made this kind of deal not too long ago, but it didn't involve David and Njoku.
I was just gonna say, man, the problem with this is that we're excited about Pitts. We like him. We still like Njoku, and I'll be honest, this is bordering on ruining the trade show for next week. But we got to answer the question.
Right.
There's an extra piece to this.
There is. League. How valuable are tight ends?
Right. So the half-point tight end premium in this type of format doesn't scream to me that WoRP is like high.
Unless you believe Kyle Pitts is that guy who gets to the Travis Kelce level.
Because here's the thing. You got the jersey on.
Right.
You got the unicorn. And if you're like, I really believe in maybe not even next year, but the following year and forward, he's different. The reality is, too, we talked about this. He's basically a receiver that's categorized as a tight end, which they're not going to remove that eligibility because of how, much he's been paid up for in the tight end market. So that part makes sense. I would say this: the 25 first and second, you can probably be okay with. But in a lineup league, Mike, like I would basically, the reason I say that, I need to know that the rest of your team is really rostered right. Like if you basically want to go against process for your love on Kyle Pitts, fine. But you better have 2 top quarterbacks. You better have a quarterback 3. Because what you don't want to do is in 2025 find out that your team's not that great and the WoRP difference from Njoku to Pitts isn't that great. And those picks become mid to early and you're hating it. That's honestly the biggest part to me is what does your team look like and can you really afford to risk this for that?
I would say Cal. I saw the question or the comment in here from Flower Source too. Like Cal Pitts price tag. I wouldn't say expects him to be a young Travis Kelce, but it at least expects him to be a Mark Andrews, right? Like a young Mark Andrews. That's what it expects him to be. And WoRP wise, like if all he is Mark Andrews, who sometimes flirts with the upper echelon of tight end, like Travis Kelce is always there, but Mark Andrews has kind of been up and down due to injuries situation, the whole thing. If Kyle Pitts is just Mark Andrews, David Njoku first and the second, I'd rather have that side than I would Kyle Pitts, to be honest, depending on WoRP and just judging by the settings you put in there. I think it's probably the same. I play in a lot of leagues just like that. And tight ends outside of Travis Kelce really just don't matter to me at all. That's probably been the biggest thing for WoRP to go like, yeah, I'll just trade these dudes away. But
that's why it's a forward-thinking move because, like, today in WoRP, it's not the right play. Probably next year in WoRP, it's not the right play, but maybe, moving forward, when Kelce does start to phase out, it works. And then the problem, though, is when you think about it from the other end, right? So you get Njoku, who in that format probably is just a replaceable level tight end or, like, barely above. Like, WoRP is not going to be super high on him. But he's good enough to just fill the spot. But then – and this is, I guess, the question. What do we got? We got something in the chat?
No, I said his fucking name wrong, man. I'm sorry. Or her name wrong. I'm not going to assume gender here, but it's Flowosaurus, not Flowersaurus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I've been drinking. I made this one vodka, the last little bit of the bot. I'm not going to say little bit. It was actually quite a bit of vodka in that bottle. So I made this drink pretty fucking strong. So it's kicking in.
And did you see
sorry
that?
Sorry if I missed a character too.
Wow.
Yeah, we finished this one off.
Do you don't have any drinks? Are you out?
Oh, we're out. We're out, buddy. Don't worry. I think I got some bootleg schnapps that my father-in-law made like 4 years ago in the back. So I'm gonna go pour up after we're out of here. But beautiful. I'm with you. I gotta piss. So we should wrap this up because we both can't go pee at the same time.
Yeah. Well, all right. I guess unfortunately we will have to wrap this up, everybody.
Hey, it's an hour and a half plus at this point. Like I feel.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was gonna just say to the this comment here. Yeah, but like. I guess that's the last point I'll make. The 25 first and second, right? You may be in a situation where you're like, all right, it's down the line. I can't do anything with it today. But if you now have a second 25 first and second, and you hold them for, let's say, half a season to a year, now those are the same as the 24s are this year. And when you think about, like, the bet against Kyle Pitts, as much as I love him, and you think I'm just not going to overpay to have an elite tight end in this format, and I'm going to build around having a, just solid one. Nothing crazy, but not going to win my league, but not going to break my league, right? That's where the bet is, really. Like, what can you do with 225s and 225 seconds and possibly what you do in process to get a third and a fourth? Because now all of a sudden you can maybe just forget tight end and go have, a elite wide receiver or an elite quarterback. That's a totally different conversation.
I would say too, like Kyle Pitts is really awesome. I don't think like his ADP, at least in startup wise, if you look at ADP, no matter what source you're kind of looking at, has ever really caught up. Like I'm in 2 startups right now, and it always feels like Kyle Pitts is kind of that guy in the 3rd round where I go, damn, I love him and I want to buy in, but WoRP tells me not to, like just to say piss off. But sometimes I also just want to look at WoRP and tell it to fuck off because Kyle Pitts is so awesome and I believe in him as well. But it's such a weird one. But Adam, I would say it'd be much easier for me to come out and say, like, you should be selling Kyle Pitts everywhere. Like, the process would be easier for me to say you should sell Kyle Pitts everywhere if he's like a mid to late second round startup pick. Like, if people are valuing him there, I go, yeah, this is an easy sell for me. But the fact he goes in the mid part of the third round, I go, all right, like,
Right.
I'm willing. Like, you know, like the original question was, I believe in miracles. All right, fuck it. Like, this is Travis Kelce 2.0. Like, I'm going to buy into that for that price. So David Njoku, a first and a second, it's not like saying, hey, I paid 2 liquid 24 firsts to go get Kyle Pitts right now, which I go,
Sure.
I don't think I can get behind it. But you gave Njoku, you gave a first and a second. And as much as you and I like Njoku and talk him up, and I think he's a value, specifically to some of these rookie tight ends that are getting ridiculously hyped,
Right.
we can say that Njoku also falls in that range of who gives a fuck at tight end.
Yeah, in a format of half point tight end premium, he's more of the
don't give a shit.
He's in that range of, like, you want to have someone in that range where it's you're not bleeding value at tight end, but you're definitely not going to win, right? And that's where it's all about building your team and thinking about it for me. I will say this, Mike, this part here is kind of key. Like, a learning experience, right? This is a learning experience. Don't trade away your first in a startup until you know, like, your team's ready to go. Because if you want to go the other way around, right? Now you're getting rid of Kelce, which is suboptimal to get your first back. Although it may be optimal now, suboptimal move was trading away your first in a startup without knowing what your team's going to be. So,
I don't think he's saying that he traded away his first and then got it back. Right, it helped him. His first that he already owned is because his team now is
he's using
bad.
this to take away his points.
He's taking the points off his team, which taking Travis Kelce off your team will remove points and make your pick better. Like, I think that's probably the only certainty on this show. Everybody else fought me on Jamir Gibbs, Brock Purdy, T. Higgins, Rashad Bateman. But the only certainty I can say is that nobody will fight me on is trading Travis Kelce away on your fantasy team will make your draft pick better if you own it in 2024.
Absolutely.
Pretty simple.
You know, not on this show, but, you know, if you want to talk juju, we could have another fight. But other than that, we will see you back here. Same time, same place.
Love y'all.
Tuesday next week for the South Harmon Tuesday MA. We're out of this thing. Peace.